Hello everyone, welcome back to Array Blog once again. So in the last video, we learned about control flow, how to make your program decide and repeat using if, else and loops. Now it's time to learn one of the most powerful features in JavaScript, that is function. So by the end of this video, you will know how to create, call and return value from functions, including modern ES6 arrow function. So let's jump into that. So let me create a file. Let's say a function dot js, right? So the question is, what is function? A function is a reusable block of code that perform a specific task. Like think of it like a mini program inside your main program, right? You can write a function once and you can use it anywhere you want, right? Instead of repeating the code over and over again and again, right? So let's see an example. Suppose let's create a function. So this is the keyword to create a function. Yeah, this is the function that. So the greet is the function here, and we are going to write a message. So console.log, and we'll say welcome to array log, right? So this is the greet function, and the function is the keyword. Greet is the function name, and everything inside basically the curly braces runs whenever you call it, right? So what you're going to do, we are going to say greet, right? So if you don't write this, it will not print this because we are not calling this. So whenever you write a function, you have to call it so that you can see something, right? So that you can basically, if you don't call a function, it will not do what it's supposed to do, right? So let's run it. So I'll say node and function.js. It's a welcome to array block. Now suppose we comment this and we run this again. So see, it's not printing anything because we are not calling it, right? So it is very important to call a function to see something what function is doing. This is what. So this is what the basic function is. Now the second thing is function parameter. So we'll say function parameter. So function become more powerful when we pass parameter. Parameters are basically value that change how they behave, right? So suppose we have written this. Now what we're going to do, we are going to remove this and we are going to write a template literals, right? This one. So we're going to convert this into template literals and we are going to say name, right? And we are going to pass it here, a parameter, right? And here inside the greet, inside the greet, we are going to say array and greet log. So let's run it and see. Say welcome to array, welcome to block, right? You can pass as many parameter as you want, right? So let me show example. So suppose we created a function that's a addition, right? And we are going to supply a and b, and we are going to do addition here. So console.log, say sum is a plus b, right? And we are going to call add. We're going to say 5 and 3, right? 5 and 2, yeah, that's it. So this is what we are going to do here, and it is printing sum is 7. That's how that is what the function parameter is. Now next thing what you're going to run, we are going to learn about the return statement. So sometime basically, why return statement? Sometime we don't just want to print result, we want to use them elsewhere, right? That's where the return keyword comes into the game, right? So let me write this. So we'll say function, or let me edit this. So this is, rather than writing console.log, we will say return a plus b, right? This is what we're going to return. And rather than calling like this, we are going to say let let sum equals to this, and we're going to print this. So it's a console dot log. We are going to say sum, right? So once a function hits return, it is stop running and sends the value back to where it was called. So here it is called, that the function is basically, it will return 5 plus 2 is 7, and it will assign to a some variable, and it will print this, right? So let's run it and see what it print. It says 7. We can see that, right? That is what return statement does. So return statement, basically, we don't just want to print a message or print a result. We want to use them somewhere else. So what we're going to do, we get the result, and we are using as a sum, right? So that's where our return statement is very, very important, right? Now the next thing is what we're going to do. We are going to learn about function expressions, right? So you can also store functions in a variable, and this is called a function expression. So for you can store expression is basically, you can store a function inside a variable. For example, we'll say const, we can say hi equals to function, and we are going to say console of this, yeah. So we can say console.log, and we are going to say hi. We can say welcome to, right? And we will call the variable, right? Here we are calling the variable, right? And this is how function expression is. And this is useful when passing function an argument or returning them from other function. Basically a concept that basically it is a high order function, right? So the function expression is basically, you can store a function inside a variable. That's it. So let's run it. It's a welcome to array block, right? Next thing what we are going to do, we are going to learn arrow functions, right? So this is the modern way and clean way and compact way, basically, to write a function, and that is called arrow function, and it is introduced in ES6, right? So let's see a basic example. We'll say const, and we can say array log equals to, so this is arrow function, that's how you write a function, and we can say console dot log, and we are going to say hello users, right? That is how you write a function using the arrow function, right? If and this is the this function is without parameters, right? So let's run it. So let's see, and we are not called it, so we have to call it okay. So then we can see that output, see, we got hello users. This is the without parameters. Now suppose you want to write the parameter, we can say name, right? And hello, and instead of this we are going to write like this. We'll say name, this is going to backticks, and here we'll pass array So let's run it and see. We got hello array block. So see how easy to write a function using the arrow function. And suppose you have to write, if like I mean one line code, so you can write const additions. So I'll say you guys try to write a addition function using using the arrow function, and tell me like if you guys are able to do that or not. So arrow function are great for short one logic like array operation and callbacks, and it is very easy and very clean to understand, right? So next thing what you're going to do, we are going to run a default parameter. So we'll say default parameters, right? So for the default parameters, we'll say function test, and we're going to say name equals to array, right? This is what console.log, and we'll say name, right? And that is how, and this is how the function default parameter look like. We have default but we have added this by default. You can change it whenever you pass, like suppose we call these functions, and so let me change this. I'll show you examples. I will say welcome to array, right? So first line it will print array block, and the second line it will print welcome to array block, and this will be replaced, right? So let me clear this and run this. See, we got array block and we got the welcome to array block. So this is how function. This is what we have learned today. So let's quickly recap everything what we learned today. So the first thing we learned about the function declaration, how we can define a function, what are the keyword to declare a function, parameter, like we are passing the value passed to a function, return statement, basically why we use return statement. So return statement basically send value back, and function expression, basically this is the like a high order function that you usually use when you want to store a function in a variable. And arrow function basically shorter syntax, and it is introduced in a ES6. And the default parameter, if you not pass anything in the function, it will by default it will fall back to the default parameter. That's it for the function, right? So now you know everything about function in JavaScript, from parameters and return to arrow function to the default parameter. So in this video, in the next video, we are going to dive into the JavaScript scope and hosting to understand how and where your variable and function actually lives in a memory. So if you learned something new today, hit the like button and subscribe and comment your favorite parts. So for the function, mine is like a writing arrow function because it looks your code very modern and easy to read. So thanks for the watching, and I will see you into the next one. Thank you.